Grandiose, extravagant, flamboyant. These are the words often used to describe my guest tonight. For when you walk into the world of Vijay Mallya, you can't be sure you haven't walked into a dream. Who is the man behind the dazzling image? Let's find out what it's like being Vijay Mallya.
Just let your thoughts, your dreams unfold. Let's talk of love, of tales untold. Speak so I can see your soul. Speak so I can see your soul.
Vijay, it's a very special pleasure for me to have you here. Thank you so much for coming.
Great to be here.
Yours is a fantasy world, isn't it? Jets, yachts, horses, homes around the world. Is it the fairy tale that it seems?
You know, fairy tales are really what you make of it. Yes, I do enjoy yachts. But I also use my yachts very effectively to promote my business. I do enjoy having a plane of my own, but I use it effectively to get from one place to another when I need to make maximum use of my time. So, to some, these may represent fairy tales. To me, they are yardsticks of accomplishment and, of course, the satisfaction of my own pleasures. And if I work hard enough, why not?
Why not? I agree with you. But the public persona of Vijay Mallya has been built up by the media, this racy, fast-track image. How different is the private Vijay?
I like to say significantly different. I am a private person, a family-oriented person. I absolutely adore my children. And I value my family and my privacy much more than people care to think.
You see, the way I see it, Vijay, you have these two worlds. One is the outer world, which everybody sees, the flamboyant, glamorous outer world. But I want to look inside today. I want to try and understand what makes you the person you are. Can you tell me, what was your childhood like?
When I was very young in Bangalore, I was sort of brought up more by my grandparents, who I became very attached to. Then, of course, it was in the early 60s that my parents separated, and I actually went to live with my mother in Calcutta, and my father stayed on in Bangalore. And my mother, of course, gave me all she could. She, I think, sacrificed a lot of her own personal needs, sacrificed a lot of what a single woman would have done with her life to bring me up with certain values that she cherished. And so I owe a lot to my mom for what I am today. And I had a very fine, happy childhood. And I didn't see too much of my father in my young days.
Why is that?
Well, you know, he was in Bangalore. He, at that time, was with a lady who had two daughters of her own. He wouldn't travel to Calcutta that often. He'd come maybe once in 3 or 4 months. But I used to remember that I longed to meet him, and I looked forward to his every visit to spend time with him. But, you know, as I grew up and he realized that I would be a significant help to him in the business, then, of course, our bonds became significantly more close, and that was when I really enjoyed my father. I really got to know my father, actually, was when I was in the final years of school, and in fact during my college years.
So that your father's remarriage and acquiring another family did have an impact on your relationship with him?
Oh, absolutely. You know, I mean, I used to be with my mother. There were things that I perceived about my father and his new family, which were sometimes right, sometimes were totally ill-founded. And obviously having to sort of share my dad wasn't, an ideal situation. But I think my mom compensated a lot for that because she gave me a lot of attention and care, and that made up.
Was it lonely for you, being an only child?
Yeah, you see, only child from the point of view of my not having a sibling at home. But from my father's perspective, there was myself and there were his stepchildren. So Bangalore to me was sort of a big family scenario where I was a mere visitor. I wasn't part of it. I wasn't part of my father's second life, should I say.
Did you seek his approval? Did you want it?
My father was a pretty strict disciplinarian. And I think while I rebelled against his need or his compulsion to instill certain values in me, which I then of course perceived as being a headmaster-like approach. But I think now looking back, those values were very important and in fact formed a pretty important foundation for my life as it is today.
For example, what? Can you give me an idea?
Oh yeah, he was extremely astute, was believed very, very strongly in accountability, and in fact used to make a note of his daily expenditure in his diary every single day. And one day I lost a 1 paisa coin, which I couldn't find. It probably was under the carpet somewhere. And he actually wrote down in his diary 0.01 lost by Vijay.
I don't believe
yeah.
it.
So he believed in accountability.
What did you say?
Yeah,
What did you feel?
Well, there was nothing I could do except look under the carpet again. I don't know where that 1 paisa coin disappeared.
Did you learn anything from this?
Oh, absolutely. I have a pretty good memory, but nevertheless, I learned this record keeping from him, and I think that has been very valuable to me.
Did he ever take you by the hand and groom you?
He didn't, but he made sure others supervised me very effectively. In fact, he went out of his way to tell people who supervised me in my initial working career that they should be particularly strict with me and not let me, under any circumstances, feel like the boss's son. And that's why when I started out in my working career, I in fact thought that it was almost a punishment, the way I was being treated. But I later on realized the method in that madness, and I realized how good it would be for my future.
Tell me, Vijay, how differently do you treat your children from the way you were brought up?
Oh, I spoiled them terribly.
And you admit it.
I absolutely admit it. I spoil them terribly. My 2 daughters I find absolutely irresistible. I cannot say no to them. I know it's wrong. My wife and myself have arguments about this, but they're just too precious.
Do they ever live like the normal children live? Or do they have a very privileged existence?
No. They obviously go to private school, but then there are several other children in private school in America.
Have they ever traveled by school bus, cabs?
The nanny drives them to school, which is also nothing uncommon, or my wife drives them to school. And other than that, I think they live a very normal life.
You know why I say this, Vijay? Because we have lots of friends. They had a very normal upbringing, which was, all right, let's say school buses, the normal day-to-day life like all the other kids in school. And now when their kids have grown up, of course these people have got a lot more money now, suddenly the kids have to travel first class. They can't do any of the normal things that other children do. And I often wonder why they're doing this to their kids. Is it the right thing to do?
No, absolutely. Look, traveling first class is all right because, I mean, let's assume my wife and me would travel first class. I mean, what is the logic of making the kids sit in the back? It's not that we can't afford first-class travel, and I don't see why that should be regarded as spoiling children. I'll go back to my young days when I first started my career. I wanted a car. I didn't get a car for a long time until finally my father very grudgingly gave me a Standard Herald in those days. And I got a Standard Herald only, I think, because my mother also insisted that it would be safer than my sort of hanging out of one of those Calcutta buses or trams.
But you did go by the Calcutta buses and
sure,
trams.
Sure, absolutely.
But your children will never do that.
You know, I mean, is it safe?
Was it safe for you?
Well, that's why I got my Standard Herald. You know, so what I'm saying is, if you can afford things like a car and driver, which today is not really such a super luxury, but in fact almost a necessity, particularly, let's say, in a city like Bombay.
Why not let the children
Why not let the children use the facility? Use of a facility and the abuse of a facility are two different things, of course.
Do you give them pocket money?
Pocket money now for my two little daughters is really out of the question. They're too young. For my son, yeah, I mean, exactly what the school prescribes, no more.
Okay. Did you used to get pocket money?
Oh yeah, I got pocket money. I used to spend it in the first week. It was never enough.
Well, you haven't changed. Vijay, you inherited a huge fortune, and I think in about 10 years you quadrupled it. But I want to ask you, which personal achievement or personal initiative gave you the most satisfaction?
I think the most valuable contribution I would have made to the UB group is the building of the blockbuster brands like Bagpiper, Kingfisher, McDowell's, and I put my heart and soul behind building these brands.
You've got such a huge empire. What drives you to go on?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Many people have asked me, why do I work hard? Why do I sort of spend half my life in an aeroplane? Why do I work late hours? Why do I work weekends? Simi, I often use this expression, it's like riding a tiger. You know, the challenge of getting onto the back of a tiger and talking about it is very great. But what you don't realize is once you are sitting on top of that tiger, you can't get off, because if you do, it'll eat you up. Now, that's what my life's all about. And so as long as you're there at the helm to lead it, you got to maintain the pace that the business dictates.
But tell me, are you a good judge of people?
My wife says no.
She says no, no?
My wife says no.
Women have an instinct about
I know.
these
I
things.
think so. I think so. And I think she's been right more often than I have. I've made a few mistakes. But overall, I think I'm more trusting and than, should I say, objective.
But are you becoming more careful? Or
it's difficult to change. You know, what do you do? How do you become more suspicious? You can't.
you're on guard?
Yes, but in the fast-paced life that I lead, I mean, how much time is there to really stop and think and get your guard up?
When a person has disappointed you or failed you,
Mhm.
how do you deal with it or with them?
Once again, I'm more forgiving. I tend to give people multiple chances. I should maybe just dispense with those who disappoint me willfully, that too. Certainly those who have deceived me. But I think I'm not that strict with myself or in my attitude thus far.
You see, the generosity is not just in money. The generosity is also towards people by letting them get away with it, forgiving them for it. That's all part of your nature.
Yes, I think you're right. I must admit, not in all cases have I really sort of done something about it as I should have. But then that's the benefit of hindsight.
You live in a stratosphere that is so cut off from ordinary life. How do you connect to normal life?
You know, frankly, my life, the way I live it, is normal to me.
Okay, when was the last ordinary thing that you did?
What's ordinary?
Go to a movie theater, buy popcorn, walk on the street, take a cab.
No problem.
When did you do it last?
No problem. 2 weeks ago, I took my kids to Fremont to see a Hindi movie. And I sat there and I bought popcorn, and with the kids, I ate popcorn and watched a Hindi movie in California. Is that abnormal or normal?
Very normal. I'm happy to hear it.
That's what I meant. And went to see a Hindi movie, that too.
Which one?
Kuch Kuch Hota Hai.
Isn't it lovely?
I loved it.
It's a super film.
Absolutely.
But you live life at such a frenzied pace. Do you have time to introspect?
Difficult.
No.
To be honest, no. I mean, it's been a long time since I've actually sat down and contemplated. Almost never in the recent past.
But that's a pity. You've got to stay in touch with yourself. Tell me, what causes you stress?
You know, this is a question many people have asked me, but frankly, I don't know. I don't get stressed. I don't know what stress really is. I get frustrated. I don't know whether frustration can be termed as stress, but frankly, I never get stressed out.
Are you superstitious?
Very.
You are?
Oh, yeah.
What sort of superstitions?
Oh, you know, I mean, I don't particularly enjoy doing things on Tuesdays or Saturdays. I am a very staunch believer in Rahu Kalam and Yamagandam in timings. I still have my Purohit in Bangalore to work out auspicious days every month for me. And yeah, I am very religious. My wife is even more religious. So there is a sort of religious atmosphere at home.
And this spiritual life is very important to you, isn't it?
Terribly important. No, I find a lot of peace within myself. I get a lot of strength. I find that sometimes I get solutions from literally nowhere. And who do I owe it to? You know, a narcissist would say I owe it to myself. I'm brilliant, but I'm not. I owe it to God, and you know, in my own humble way, I demonstrate it through various offerings at various temples. You know, it's all a non-stop process of saying thank you.
They say the poor have only one advantage. They know they are loved for themselves. Have you ever wondered about this?
Oh yes, absolutely. In fact, you're very subtle. My wife is far more vocal with me. She, of course, spares no effort in telling me that many of the people who pose as my friends do so because of what I am and not who I really am. It's what surrounds me that attracts them. It may not necessarily be the human being, but I guess that's life, and she tends to see that aspect better than I can.
What about friends and friendships?
I realize now I have few friends and many acquaintances. Many people who I thought were friends, but I was wrong. Many people who didn't bother to go out of their way to be friendly, but who were genuine friends. So I'm living and learning every day.
Tell me, Vijay, how important an institution is marriage for you?
Well, you know, at the end of the day, I value my home. I value the integrity of my home. And if you ask me what gives me the maximum amount of happiness that goes sort of directly into my heart, it's my children. And, you know, without a marriage, there wouldn't be that.
But tell me about your wife, Rika. What makes her so special for you?
Well, I think the thing that impresses me most about her is her absolute devotion to the children. You know, Rika has 2 children from her previous marriage. And I saw the way she was devoted to them. And that told me a lot about her character. And she looked after me very well. In fact, she still mothers me. And fine, you know, I sometimes sort of rebel against this sort of motherly attitude, but then I know it's good for me because she has no axe to grind. But I think, what was I looking for? I was looking for a companion who would be totally unimpressed with all that surrounded me, that would make absolutely no bones about telling me off, and somebody who I could then say, look straight in the face and say, hey, you're honest, and you really don't care who I am, you're honest with me. You don't pamper me, you don't sort of say things to me to make me feel good. And more often than not, I keep telling Rika, I said, you know, why is it that you always keep finding fault with me? Why don't you tell me some good things for a change? So she comes back and says, well, the whole world tells you good things about you. Why don't I be a little different and tell you the real story? So, you know, I appreciate that because it's called a reality check, right?
Vijay, what quality do you find most attractive in a woman?
Huh. Well, what quality in a woman does a man get attracted to first? Looks, isn't it? But then that's not everything. It can be extremely deceiving. To me, it is the femininity in a woman that is the most appealing. There is no substitute for dignity, grace.
What turns you off?
Women who volunteer themselves, women who try to sell themselves, not in the literal sense, I mean, behave in a manner that is either inviting or, I like to believe that a woman should be a little bit aloof. I like to have to work to get to a woman. And as long as I feel I need to work to get to a woman, that's a woman that I would have some time for. You know, you can be very pretty, but you can lack class. And with class comes that very slight sort of standoff. And that's what I think sets a really dignified, graceful woman apart from very pretty ladies who don't have the class to go with them.
Would you say you've changed over the years, Vijay?
If your question is whether I've mellowed, yes, I have mellowed, yeah.
How? Tell me.
I don't know, it's just the things that I want to do now that as compared to what I would do maybe 10 years ago. I don't know, maybe it's age, maybe it's more and more corporate life. I don't know what it is, but certainly, I mean, I've slowed down.
Well, you have brought your own dreams to your life, Vijay. You're a very, very special person. I want to thank you so much for coming. Thank you for this rendezvous.
Thanks for the opportunity. Thank you.